And welcome to the What the Shuck podcast. The goal of the What the Shuck podcast is to provide a positive and influential platform to people of Kentucky and Appalachia that are in some way flipping the narrative that Kentucky or this area is a problem through the innovation of business, art, essentially anything that's going to change the ideas of those people in that narrative nationwide. We are providing a platform to those sorts of people. The next episode of What the Shuck is going to be featuring Aaron Willis of Vintage Therapy. Wills. Sorry.
It's a common mistake. I get mail every day that says Willis.
Aaron Wills. Okay, Aaron Wills of Vintage Therapy. And I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to just be talking about the culture and the things that they're creating at this shop just beyond being a vintage thrift shop. So without further ado, Mr. Aaron Wills, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I've been watching your podcast and listening and since I met you, and it's so hard for me every time I see you to be not be like, what the shuck?
I appreciate that, man.
So we appreciate you. You've been around the shop and you've been a part of what we've been doing since we opened, and we appreciate your support. And it's been good to get to know you. We've been trying to do this podcast for what?
A year. Yeah, since you all opened pretty much. Like, I think that I came in here the third week after you all are opened, and I was like, this place is really cool. These people are really cool. And I knew it was a connection I needed to make.
Well, I appreciate that. And I am solo today. I do have another half, Scott. We'll just go ahead and say he is under the weather, so he is not able to be here, unfortunately. And then I didn't want to cancel again, so I was like, we're just gonna have to roll with it, and maybe we'll do a part 2 when Scott can be here. So
hey, I'm all for it. I love what you all do here. You all have a lot of really cool things coming up, but what I really wanted to do is show the listeners and the people watching What the Shuck just kind of a behind the curtain look at what has perpetuated this moment to allow you all to have this really cool vintage thrift shop here in Lexington. Because, I wouldn't say that Kentucky would exactly be known as like a really fashion-driven place, but I think that from some of the shows you all have done here and just the clothing that you all have coming through your doors, that you would say otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, Lexington is, you take Lexington and Louisville, it's a little bit of, I guess you would say it's a little ahead of kind of some of the fashion trends and things on the outskirts of Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, even Northern Kentucky somewhat. But because it's more of a melting pot of people from different areas. You have the university here and stuff like that. But what we found and what we tried to build mostly with Vintage Therapy is, and what kind of makes it different than your other vintage stores and I guess you would say kind of thrift shops or sustainable clothing stores and stuff like that, is you really have something for everybody. So it doesn't matter their age, it doesn't matter their style. They're able to come in here, find something that fits them, that fits their style, and kind of make it their own. And a lot of the pieces are unique, kind of one-of-one pieces. We carry a lot of stuff from we try to go as far back to the 40s, the 50s, but we try to stay in that 90s, that 80s, 70s, that time frame. And crazy enough, the early 2000s are really starting to come on from a fashion perspective. And so it's been interesting. We drug our feet for a long time, Scott and I did, on the shop, because we've been selling in this market. We've been doing pop-ups. We've had huge turnouts, and people love the clothing and the nostalgia aspect of it. So we kind of rolled the dice and said, let's do it now or never. We rolled the dice because we thought, okay, Lexington's ready, the city's ready, and they have not disappointed. I mean, since we opened the doors, every day it's crowded in here with people from the age of 60 to the age of 13, and it's really, really cool to see all the different people come in and the different walks of life. And speaking of Eastern Kentucky, we have so many people come from Eastern Kentucky into the shop, and I want to say thank you first and foremost, because I know with gas prices as high as they are, and 2 hour Pikeville, 2.5 hours away, people are driving here just for the shop. And when they tell me that, or tell Scott and I that, it blows our mind. And I mean, so the city has been amazing, but the state in general has it's exceeded my expectations.
And I think that you can see that culture is building a lot, and people are looking to get more into this style of thing. There's literally a thrift shop in Pikeville now, and it's like they probably saw like, hey, there's people in Lexington doing it. Like they probably knew that there were people driving from Pikeville to Lexington, and it's like, for me, working with so many artists and so many people that are business related, it's like really cool to see that when someone succeeds in our community, someone's like, hey, like I saw that they're doing that, like I want to do that. And honestly, like that just, for me, that's part of what has made this podcast be successful, is people saying like, hey, I see that Nicholas Jamerson is doing this, or New Frontier is doing this, or Vintage Therapy is doing this, and that encouraged me to want to follow my passion. And it might not even be in vintage, like thrift shopping. It might even be just like, dang, I want to start like a smoothie company, and it's because I saw Aaron Wills say, hey, I did well at like what I did, and that was something I was really passionate about.
Yeah.
And sometimes just getting that across to people is so contagious. And we were talking about it earlier, and you said, you know, you were like, oh, I'm a servant leader. And I would say that that's my personality type. And it's just like sometimes making sure that you like take care of the people around you will ensure that you're successful. And my goal was always to create generational success. And it's like, I don't just want to be successful. I want to make sure that by what I do in my time here, that 2 or 3 generations are set up to be more successful. And I feel, hey, if I'm doing things that I'm passionate about, if I'm following things that I care about, then like you said, the money will come. And I think that's something that's not preached enough. You might not be the most like overwhelmingly rich person, or you might not be like poor, but you're going to get by, and you're going to be able to do the things you want to do because you're doing the things you want to do. And I think that speaks a lot to like the soul of the human and like what we're doing in this flesh body that we have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no doubt. I mean, and it's unfortunate that, you know, we've been bred to kind of think of rich and poor from a financial aspect, but you know, some of the richest people I know don't have, you know, anything, and they're happy, and their lives are full of joy, and they build their life and their day to day around their passions and what they enjoy doing, and there's something to be said about that. And so, you know, what you're doing with the podcast, like I said, I've listened to you know, the musicians and the people that you have on, and kind of what you're doing for Kentucky. I will say too, for me, I mean, it's an inspiration from that side of things, because when you go, and I know I've traveled a lot for business and things like that, and you tell people you're from Kentucky, and they automatically are like, well, do y'all wear shoes, and do you do this? And I'm like, hey, have you ever been to Kentucky? No. And then people come here and they fall in love with this place, because not only is the landscape and the mountains and just all the things that are here in Kentucky, not only are they absolutely beautiful, but the people are even better. And so for you to be able to put people on and let that come through with some of these musicians and some of the people that you've had on the podcast, I think is great. You know, you talked about from a servant leader aspect, you know, finding something that you can help others, and you can, like, somebody may listen to this and be like, you know, whatever, and I'm not, you know, that doesn't speak to me or whatever. But then there's going to be maybe that 1 or 2 people that listen to this that say, you know what, I'm going to take that and use that. And so I think that's what I try to do in the shop. I know it's kind of cheesy as that sounds. Scott and I both, I mean, we love interacting with our customers. We try to be here as much as we can. We love to talk to people, old and young, and we love to help educate people about vintage and about what is, you know, there's several people that come in and we try to help style them. But just giving them the background of what it means, especially the younger generation, and saying, you know, this is a piece from 1970. They only made this for this reason. And then having the people that are older than me come in and educate me, and then have that conversation. And sometimes they just want to come in and have somebody to talk to because they're lonely. And so that's the cool part of the shop, I think. But I think that ties into my personality as well. And that's, you know, not to keep going on and on, but that's what makes the shop different. It's very different than a lot of other shops and a lot of other businesses because of that. Everybody has good days and bad days. There are days that I don't feel like, saying 3 words, but I know that when other people come in, you know, they're going to feed off of hopefully our conversation or my joy or my mood. So I try to keep it positive, but that's one of the things I think I love the most about it, and that ties into my personality and your personality. We talked about the servant leader aspect.
Well, we were talking about it even before, and like this isn't to me. The reason I'm so drawn to this place and the people is it's not just a thrift shop. It's culture building. Like you can feel like there's an organic feeling. Like, oh, you're a Kentucky fan. We have something for you. Oh, you're like a deadhead. We have something for you. And when you can bring that many different people together, it speaks volumes of what you're doing. And what I always say about Kentucky is we don't have a lot, but we have each other. And like it doesn't matter if you are from Eastern Kentucky or from Western Kentucky or you're from Central Kentucky or you're black or you're white. It doesn't matter. Like I feel like everyone here is really accepting, and I mean maybe that's a benefit I've always had. But I went to literally a school where it was only white people, and we had like a few black kids, and those kids we had like 3 black kids in a school full of white kids, and African American kids were treated exactly the same. Maybe I grew up in a very loving and caring community, but it's just like by having. I think Kentucky does love. I think that we want to encourage others, and they say, "Hey, you're doing a thrift shop? Like, dude, what do I need to do to support that?" And they're like, "Hey, I'm releasing an album. What do I need to do to support that?" Or I'm releasing a bourbon, or whatever, a beer. People just find passion a lot from the things that people create around here, and at the end of the day, it's because we don't have a lot.
Yeah.
And it might not be they don't have shoes or they don't have where's a toothbrush invented? Oh, it's in Kentucky because they only have 1 tooth. No, it's like we've been subjectively kind of destroyed by corporate greed in a lot of the regions, whether it's the western coalfields or the eastern coalfields of Kentucky and a lot of Appalachia. And because of this struggle, it's created a very rich culture. And the culture that's in central Kentucky is from bourbon and horse racing. And it's like, there's not really like a state. I mean, I got goosebumps even talking about it. It's like, there's not really a state that has so many just unique and loving characteristics like Kentucky.
I agree. I mean, I think part of what you mentioned earlier there was the town you grew up in. I grew up in a small town, a very small farming community. And I can just remember, some of my best friends were black in the community. And we all, had fun together. We played sports together. It was, but part of that was based on the fact that we all were cut from the same cloth. Mm-hmm. We all came from the same background. Our grandparents and our parents all grew up together and played together and had fun together and did things like that. And when you get out of that small town environment, and you go into a bigger environment, I think that you lose a lot of that close knit, and that I've known that person since they were 1 or 2, mm-hmm. And so that I think that's a little bit of it. But one of the things that I've loved about Kentucky is anywhere you go, there are good and bad people, mm-hmm. but I feel like the state of Kentucky, especially, does a really good job of pulling out the good. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, like, you take something like the tornadoes in western Kentucky that happened. When that happened, this state pulled together, or the floods in eastern Kentucky. This state pulled together and tried to make, do everything they could to help. Even if you had money or you didn't have money, you were trying to do everything you could to help the other people. Mm. And when the riots and stuff like that were going on with the Black Lives Movement and stuff, I mean, when you saw the a lot of the protests and stuff going on, you saw all Kentuckians. Mm-hmm. And a peaceful, like it was peaceful. Yeah. Everyone was like, hey, like we're trying to make sure that we're making the right, like we want to help. Like not be detrimental to this cause. And you saw that, and they kind of took a huge pride in togetherness in what they were doing, what their goal was, mm-hmm. and so again, that might have something to do with our state being close knit. I mean, I would love to know the statistic. How many people that grow up in Kentucky actually ever leave the state?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start thinking about that statistic, I mean, it's probably not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably not a lot. And so
we have a lot more imports than exports.
So they're more of a close knit group, just like the small town that we grew up, like you and I were talking about that we grew up in. And so you have more in common than you don't in a lot of ways. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And to tie that back into this, one of the beauties of the shop is Scott and I really try to keep a price point on stuff. The goal is to get this stuff back out in circulation for people to enjoy it, for them to dress the way they want to have unique pieces, to feel good in it, and we try to keep it at a very low price point for that reason, and because they can go wear it and enjoy it and have fun, and then bring it back in and trade it in for something else and keep it circulating. That's the sustainability aspect of it, which I absolutely love, but at the same time, it's affordable. And you talked about corporate greed and all of those big other shops and stuff, fast fashion. It's affordable, but it's killing the environment. And the government just keeps feeding that beast. So we're trying to change the narrative a little bit, but it's more about clothes. It's about personality. It's about the people, and that's what our focus has been from day one.
I mean, I think that if you walk in here, you're like, am I on like a movie set, or what is going on? There's Disney sweaters, there's all kinds of UK swag. I mean, honestly, some of my favorite articles of clothing are from here. Like, I have this like blue and I don't even normally wear flannel stuff. And it's like this blue and black, like checkered flannel shirt that's like a jacket shirt. I forgot what those are called. What's that called?
Just like a flannel jacket?
It's like a thick one though.
Yeah.
But I'll wear the crap out of that with like a concert.
I probably picked it out for you.
You probably did.
I was probably like, Austin, listen, we gotta get you something suave for this.
And I have this like camo jacket thing, and I have a ton of Kentucky t-shirts, just because they're all like old school. Like, I probably have 6 Kentucky t-shirts I bought from here. I'm not ever bringing them back. I'm sorry, they're mine forever.
Yeah.
But I love what you all do here. It's super cool. And like you said, it's about enriching that culture, and that's this market. For those of you all who have never been, you have to come to the Gray Line Station and check it out. There's so many cool things going on here. There's cool bars. I swear to God, the best chicken in Kentucky is in this place. Soul to Go. Takes a little bit of time to get it because they have like 3 fryers, little tiny fryers, but I swear to God, it is worth the wait.
So good.
Everything I've gotten from there has been absolutely delicious. But
yeah, Gray Line has been amazing. This has been the best move for us. Obviously, it helps the shop thrive as well. But the traffic is so good. There's so many bars down here. There's so many good restaurants and other shops. And then you got the Julietta Market, who they're kind of going through a renovation right now, but they're going to get back up and running.
Rain's popcorn, by the way, over there is the best popcorn.
Oh my gosh, the best. So good, so good.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And that's helped our shop too. I mean, we've had so many different people come through and different walks of life, and people taking video. And you said it earlier, kind of jokingly, like it's a movie set or something. But we want to create that. Like, that's what we want to create. We want to create an environment that people just love and they're excited about, and they can't wait to share it with their friends. I think that's one of the keys to our success. And there's been so many different types of people coming in the shop and sharing that. So then all of a sudden your target audience just grows and grows and grows. And it's given us the platform. I mean, back to helping the state stuff. Our customers raised over $5,000 and through a raffle that we did back in December for the tornado relief fund. And that was in 2 weeks. And so that's just absolutely amazing.
It is.
We matched it. We gave 10% of our sales, so that went to that too. But I mean, as our customers just coming in, I think they raised almost, yeah, I mean, they raised $2 or $3 grand just from raffle stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just amazing. Everybody pulled together, young and old, and that's what this is about. That's definitely what this is about.
So, what would you say was what exactly inspired you to be so influenced by just pop culture and, oh, does this look cool, but also the sustainability and things like that? Because obviously you didn't just like wake up one day and be like, I'm going to open a vintage therapy. It was like you had to like get to that place. So like, kind of walk us along that. What influenced this?
Well, so I'll talk about myself first a little bit growing up. So growing up, I always loved pop culture. I loved movies, music, hip hop music, country music, rock music, you name it. I loved it. I loved sports. I loved UK. I loved, TV. I just, you know, candy and soft drinks and anything 90s and 80s. I just lived for.
America.
Yeah, I mean, it was growing up as a kid in the 80s and 90s was amazing. I mean, you got up at 8 a.m. every morning, you left the house, you came back for lunch, and then you took off again and didn't come back till dinner. And I mean, you were out in the neighborhoods and across town with your friends. And, that feeling is one I never want to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, growing up, I always liked to find unique stuff. So I would go to, my mom would take me to Salvation Army, and I would, and that whole Nirvana grudge movement, excuse me guys, I have horrible allergies, but so that whole like Nirvana grudge movement that was going on, I always wanted the most, unique thrift, like vintage tees. So I would go to Salvation Army, I'd load up, they cost me nothing. And I put that together. Of course, I loved the Carl Kanai and the kind of the starter coats and all that stuff growing up too, the Jordans. So I was all into all of that too. But what I would do is I never got rid of anything. So a lot of the stuff in the shop that you see up on the shelves was mine as a kid. So Run DMC posters, starting lineups, UK hats autographed by the '96 team. I never got rid of anything. So
you would say this is the mecca of your childhood imagination.
Oh, this is like people have man caves. This is my man cave. The only difference is I allow other people to come in and make money, and we make money and all of that. So that's the beauty of it. But
a community man cave.
Yeah, community man cave. But the cool thing is like, so my thing was I never let go of that nostalgia, that childhood feeling. I've lost both my parents. My mom was 55 when she passed. My dad was 61. So for me, what I have to hang on to, which I had an amazing childhood. I had the best parents. But for me, it's like my childhood, hanging on to the toys and the stuff that I remember, it just brings such a rush to me and a joy, And so I really hang on to that. That kind of spun into, okay, I want to start collecting the stuff that I had as a kid. I want to start enjoying it again. If I didn't have it or if I couldn't afford it, I want to try to see if I can find it. So that kind of started there. Then I started getting into, I've always loved fashion. So I've always loved style and fashion. So then I was like, okay, I can take this and have some fun with it and help others. And then I started learning about what the fast fashion is doing to the environment, how sustainability can help the environment. So then I started looking into that. And then I met Scott. And so Scott and I became best friends. We really hit it off. We have a huge age gap. I'm 43. He's 30 now. So, it just worked well. We're a good yin and a yang. And then, I started making friends. I met John, which is Dead Stock Redrop. John's in the shop with us. An amazing dude. Just such a great guy. He's such a big life person and loves Kentucky. Not sports, but just in Kentucky, the state in general. Mm-hmm. And then you had Bailey. Bailey is someone I met, and she kind of had a different outlook, and she loved the sustainability aspect and really focused on that. And then she got into the cut and sew. So I just kind of started putting all of this together and working. Scott and I did, and we were like, let's go. Let's open the shop. Let's do it. Let's follow that passion. And that's it. I mean, we have a passion. Scott loves the same thing. He loves the stuff that he grew up on. He feeds off of that, and so it just worked out. It was a great dynamic.
So would you say that you're the Tony Stark of the thrift scene here in Lexington? I feel like that's what I just got from that. You're like, like I got my own standalone movie, and then I realized I need to get this team together, and then bang, now we're here.
I would think of it. I would go more like just listening to way too much early on Gary Vee.
Okay.
No, I've been with Gary. I've rocked with Gary Vee since day one. So like wine library, all of that. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and so when I can take a passion, something that I'm excited about, and I can turn that into a business, like I love it. We have so many things going on behind the scenes right now with business therapy. I can't tell you right now, but we got the rerun is one of them. This will be our third rerun, but we have so many small things going on, and it's going to be awesome. And so for me, that's the thing. Like I want to be able to take something that I love and enjoy, and then turn it into something that others can enjoy and love as well and fall in love with. I did that with football. Like I love football. My son loves football, but you have to fall in love with sports. You have to fall in love with it. If you're going to like bust your ass at it, and can I cuss on here?
Yeah, for sure.
If you're gonna bust your ass, which ass isn't really a cuss word, but if you're gonna bust your ass at something, you got to be passionate about it. You got to fall in love with it. It's just like marriage, man. Marriage is hard. I love my wife. We're like best friends, but it's work. You have to work at it. You have to fall in love with everything, the good and the bad, to make it work. And so that's what I feel like with this business. Listen, it's not me, it's us. Scott's amazing. He does so many great things and good things well. He and I work extremely well together. We're a great team. And then you throw John and Bailey in the mix with it. We work well together. We fight like dad and siblings because they're younger than I am. But at the end of the day, we come together and we're like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. And we talked about this earlier, calling each other on our shit. We call each other on our shit. We disagree. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound, I don't want to go that route. A lot of people don't know this, but Scott is straight edge. Scott doesn't drink. He's never drank. He's never done anything like that. And I gravitate more towards alcohol and things like that. And so he backs away. He's like, it's not really on my moral compass. I don't care if people drink and have fun. That's it's just not my thing, and I don't want to be supportive of it. So so we differ on some things like that. But at the end of the day, we come together and we say, what's best for the shop? What's best for the brand? What are we going to do? How are we going to grow this? So I don't know about Tony Stark, but
man, I know. The more you talk about it, I'm like, I'm standing by that analogy. Like it's so important as you're building a team that everybody has a different strength. Like that, a team isn't good if everybody's good. I mean, they can be good, but like it's like you're gonna have more weaknesses if you aren't like prepared for. Like Marcus Aurelius was always like, prepare for the worst. And it's like, if you prepare for the worst and you keep a positive mindset, then you're going to always be prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
And when you have more strengths and maybe more weaknesses, but as a whole, you have more strengths, and maybe those weaknesses that you have, those strengths get kind of balanced out. That's so important. Like,
well, so many people to, think about from a business aspect or just anything, music, art. It's so easy to focus on your strengths. It's so easy to ride that wave, and as you should. But what people don't want to do is they don't want to put their weaknesses into light. They don't want to say, I suck at this, I'm not good at this, and delegate it and say, this person's really good at this. I mean, I can tell you, between the four of us, so when we started the business, we asked John and Bailey to be a part of this, and there's one reason. The reason why is they're good people. and they're very trustworthy. They're good people. They have, they're strong people. They're very structured from what they're good at, with what they're good at. And they focus on that skill set, and I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, because Bailey, she's awesome at cut and sew, and she's awesome at marketing, and just really getting in touch with that younger generation. Whereas maybe I'm not as good. And John, he is passionate. He has a great insight on the history of the Grateful Dead, and music, and country music, and Kentucky, and all of that. So that's kind of a focus and a drive for him. He does that extremely well. You take Scott. Scott is a huge sneakerhead. Been in the fashion aspect of skating and all of that for years and years and years. And he also has a great eye for like presentation and what he wants from that aspect. And then you take me. I'm kind of more of the business side of things. I focus on the administrative aspect of it, and focus on marketing and goals and things like that. And that's because I'm a little bit older and I've been in corporate America for a long time. So I have that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like by having that sort of like portfolio of skills, and especially the age range, like one of the worst things is, as a business owner, as an artist, whatever, is when you get dogmatic. And when your thoughts are, I'm definitely down. When your thoughts get dogmatic, your bone gets brittle, and what brittle bone does, it breaks.
Yeah.
And so when you have that elasticity because of the age group and age difference, there's a massive like potential for growth that's always there, because it may not like you said, sometimes it may hurt. You're gonna be like, oh, like, but by having that. I think that's why, not to dive into politics, but I think that the reason why our politics are so stale is because we're not very like commonly represented as a greater community. And so in a workplace, that's so important, or in a band, or in like starting a podcast. There's sometimes I'll ask my mom a question. It's like, my mom doesn't know anything about podcasting, but like I'll be like, what should I do on this? And she'll be like, I would do this. And it's like, sometimes that person, like, by just taking account of what they think, it might not be the exact answer that you want, but you're able to mold your answer into like a more adaptable situation. And that's like, sometimes that might not, you're like, I would have never thought about that. And it's just by having that thought process available, as opposed to being like, this is only what it is, and I'm only going to do it this way, and it's my way or the highway. And it's like, sometimes that might work, or you might end up being like Bobby Knight, and everyone hates you at the end of it. And it's like, it just depends.
And he was an amazing coach.
Exactly.
And he knew basketball so well. But the thing is the key is this. The key is, and we'll tie it. I don't want to go into politics. I hate politics. But one of the issues is that people think of themselves as leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, realistically, the largest percentage of people are followers.
Mm-hmm.
A huge percentage.
Yeah.
And so everybody wants to say, well, I'm a leader because of this, because of that. But a real leader listens and learns. And so when you stop learning, you stop growing. Mm-hmm. And so as people get older, they're set in their ways, and they'll say, well, I'm not going to change that, or this is my opinion. I'm going to think this way. They don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. They don't want to learn. And so that's part of the issue, because if you don't have leaders and you don't have people out there that are listening and learning from others, then and whether you're religious or you're not, and I don't want to get into religion, but you take somebody like Jesus, who the disciples followed. He listened, and he listened, and that's how he led, and that's what a good leader does. And they listen to others, and they give feedback, whether it's good or bad. Not everybody wants to hear that. You're dropping the ball here. You suck at this. Mm-hmm. I'll be the first to admit, my January, and we tie a lot of the shop. A lot of people don't know this, but the vintage therapy came from mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I was actually going to ask you what the brain was from.
Yeah, so the brain comes from mental health. We all struggle in different ways. I can remember I've never really dealt with depression or struggled with that up until probably as I've gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
And but part of that stems, you're not always going to be right on your A game every day. And so for me, like let's say January and February, the weather's not been the greatest. There's been so much going on. It's hard to not watch the news and hear everything that's going on.
The world's ending.
So for me to get jacked and excited about creating something for Instagram or creating something for the shop, it's hard. It's hard from a creative mindset, and that's what I base. I'm a very creative person, strategic and creative. So for me to create something for the shop, I just don't want to fucking do it. And so it's hard, and that's where like Bailey and Scott and other people come into play, because my bad day might be their good day, and then she's going to do a reel or a TikTok that's going to, really take off and do well. But that day I wasn't feeling it. So that's one of the cool things about having a team that's different and a team that can help each other out. You said it earlier. What was it? What was your well analogy?
Oh, if you build the well before you need the drink, because at some point you might need the drink. But if you build the well when others need the drink, it'll be there when you need it. And it's just like, when I did that walk for water, it was I was trying to say, hey, I don't need water, but like we were at Railbird and I saw a lot of first world privilege like come out. And growing up in a community that's not very privileged, it was I won't say disgusting, but it was just like eye opening. It was like, dang, like these people were at this concert that they paid $300 to $700 for tickets, and they're complaining about water. And it's like there's a community in this state. There's several communities that are going to be experiencing something similar, and it's just like they don't even have water now, and it's like they're complaining and have been for 20 years, and no one hears anything. But when that happens at Railbird, every news outlet talks about it.
They had water the next day.
And they were talking about it on like CNN and stuff. But I'm like,
they didn't have water on Saturday. Sunday they had water.
Yeah, to everywhere.
Martin has had not clean water for how long?
Since 2000. And it's maybe even longer than that. But it was like the eyes were brought to the issue when they had 300 million gallons of arsenic and mercury pumped into their water. And now the issue isn't as much water quality. It's still an issue for sure. But now it's just like accessibility to water. Because of the damage that was done because of that spill, the infrastructure was ruined. And so like 2/3 of water that's supposed to be delivered to this community, they don't receive, but they still get charged for it. Before January of this year, 50% of people couldn't afford to pay their water bill in this community. They did a 10% raise in January, an emergency raise for infrastructure given. But it's like in a community where Lyndon B. Johnson declared the war on poverty, they're still the same.
Well, we invest so much as a state, and we will get it out of this, but let's have some fucking fun. But we invest so much as a state into our roads. And granted, I get that. But
we have some of the great commerce we have because of that.
Yeah, and I get that. But there's no way a city or a town, no matter the size, no matter what, should have to go without water in that situation, or not have clean water. And whether it's here in Kentucky or Flint, Michigan, or whatever, and so I think that's where your priorities are a little bit out of whack, because obviously the roads and the things that are being built and restructured and redone are padding a lot of pockets.
That's the thing. It's like it's like if you're going to be shady about providing infrastructure, like at least be shady by providing infrastructure that people literally have to live.
Yeah.
Like, and we can say roads are good around here. I just randomly was like, I want to drive through this trailer park that's behind Graylon Station.
Yeah.
It is the worst road that you'll ever drive in, and I swear, I'm like, there's a symptom there that maybe those people don't see, but as someone who studied government and stuff like that, I'm like, those people are getting choked out of this community, and someone's going to buy that when they're like, well, we can't even drive anywhere, we can't pay for our rent, like, we literally can't afford to even live in this trailer park anymore because of our cars, because of every pothole that's in this road, we can't drive a car.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's like really weird for that community to have to deal with that. It's like, right, literally a block away. And so we've been talking about really negative stuff.
Let's talk about
yeah.
Let's change the narrative.
So tell people what exactly is coming up for Vintage Therapy with summer and spring coming up.
So we got a lot. We're actually getting ready, hitting on a good day, because tomorrow we are launching our spring break rack. So it'll be huge. All spring break related for college, high school. They've got spring break coming up in March. And then we also have our March Madness booth, which will be restocking Kentucky stuff every day, and it just getting everybody geared up and jacked up for Kentucky basketball, which we're going to make a big run.
I think we have a chance
we can talk. We can honestly talk Kentucky basketball for an hour, but we won't. But we also have the rerun coming up March 26th. So this will be our third rerun. We have done that where we highlight. We call it a vintage market. It's not a flea market. It's a vintage market. Sustainable goods, just like our shop. We have several of our friends and vendors that show out and come out for that Saturday. They're set up. They have curated the best stuff just for Lexington. Some of them come from Bowling Green, Cincinnati, you name it, all around. We try to keep it with local vintage vendors as well as much as we can. But we have usually 10 to 15 vintage vendors. So we keep it kind of small. And then we have a huge fashion show. We partner up with KRNL, which is the kind of literary fashion magazine at UK. And so it's awesome because they have been great. The girls and the guys there have just done an amazing job. They have, we kind of work well together. They use our clothing. We help style them. They style us. They, just their content is so good. So we paired up with them to do the fashion show for the rerun. Mm-hmm. So this year's rerun, or this month's March 26th, the rerun will be New York Fashion Week meets BT Spring Break. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. DJ, music. We'll have Old North Bar, The Breeze. Everybody will have a bar. So, yeah, we're excited.
There's some stuff that Bailey and I have been cooking up around these neck of the woods that I think, too, might be something kind of like a collaboration that might happen with that, something similar. But
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gray Line is just so supportive of different ideas and small businesses. It's just it's making a lot of fun.
I mean, you can say this is honestly like an incubator.
It is.
It's incubating a lot of things that make people want to come to this area.
Well, you put people like myself and you together and give us an hour, or Bailey or whoever, Scott, we're going to start brainstorming, start coming up with some ideas, and then just kind of put them in motion. Mm-hmm.
This podcast literally wouldn't even happen if this place hadn't opened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It took a while. It took a while for it to develop, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. I sound like I got punched in the nose, but my allergies are just off the chain. The hot, the cold with Kentucky kills me.
Yes, you get every season in a week here in Kentucky. I mean, there's maybe not after like April, but like I've been driving in April in like the mountainous areas of Kentucky and like hit a blizzard. So it's like, sure. If you're like on Pine Mountain or something, like you can hit some crazy stuff. Or you might have an 80-degree summer day in April. So it's like
it's gonna be 70 Wednesday.
The weather is looking great for the next week, and then it looks like it might dip down a little bit more, but then hopefully we're past it. And coming into March, like you said, spring break coming up. Then we have Keeneland. You all will probably have a rack for that too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we'll do a Keeneland rack. We always do one for the spring and for the fall. Lots of cool fashions, some blazers. Keeneland's become very business casual, I guess you would say, with like the blazer, the jeans. So we'll have some cool button-ups for the guys. We have Bailey has curated an amazing rack of like blouses and stuff like that for females as well. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a lot of cool Keeneland stuff. Definitely want to take advantage of that in April. We'll probably drop that towards the end of May.
Okay. And for me, I know that the end of March.
end of March.
Yeah. I know that, like you and I, we have kind of similar fashion style.
Yeah.
Bailey is always wearing something crazy, and I'm like, I would have just, if I would have been a girl, I don't think I would have ever thought about creating that. She always is looking swaggy. I'm always like, the other day, I was like, I walked into Greyland Station. She's like, you're looking a full snazzy today. And I was like, I must be looking good.
Yeah.
Like if I got the Bailey stamp of approval.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, I love your all's place. I love the people that work here. I'm so thankful that this, like you said, Greyland Station was created and the Juliet Market thing. And it's just like, there's been so many opportunities that I've had just to meet people.
Yeah.
It's a great networking ring, and I think it's so cool what you all are doing here. I'm going to do some B roll of like the stuff you all hang up everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, but where can everybody find you on like social media and stuff?
So we're on Instagram at @vintagetherapy_Lex. If you type in vintage therapy, it's going to pop up immediately, especially if you're in Kentucky. We're on TikTok. I don't really know the handle for TikTok.
I'm on a TikTok guy,
so we need to put that on our Instagram. You just sparked an idea because we don't have it on our Instagram either. So we need to have that because that's a lot of our younger target audience and people that come into the shop. Some of them come on in here because of TikTok, and a lot of people that have traveled to this area that are on TikTok, they'll like do a search and they can find this. Bailey did a TikTok for the shop and it went viral, or almost viral. But yeah, so that's about it. We're on Facebook. Sorry, touch my face here. So we're on Facebook as well. It's just linked to our Instagram. So anything that goes to Instagram goes to Facebook. And then we've got some other outlets that we're getting ready to launch. So be on the lookout for that as well. We're going to be looking to start launch our website, which would be really cool. We're going to drop I won't share all the details, but we're going to do a 10-piece drop, KFC 10-piece drop. Be really cool. When it's gone, it's gone. So we'll be dropping on a specific day. When it's sold out, it's sold out. You have to wait until like the next drop, which will be the following week, which will be really cool. And then we're going to be relaunching and re-upping our podcast as well, the therapy sessions. So Bailey and I will be heading that up, and Scott as well. So excited about all that. Lots of fun stuff. And then we also have, be on the lookout. We'll be doing some pop-ups.
Okay. Well, dude, what I really like to do at the very end of every podcast is kind of get like what your overall goal is and what you want to do. And sometimes people are like, wow, like I'm glad you asked me. Sometimes people have the answer prepared. So what's like the overall impact that you're looking to make with what you do?
My overall goal right now is to get my nose to stop running and get these allergies taken care of tonight and get some sleep. I got about 2.5 hours of sleep last night. So that's my goal right now, my short-term goal.
Okay.
Long-term, listen, we want to be able to grow this into something that people like, an event, an environment, a culture. You know, it's already here. People have been doing vintage shops, and this trend has been on for a long time. We're not trying to really follow that. I'm not a trend person. I don't like to follow trends. We're trying to do something different. We're trying to let people see the personality of the people in the shop. We're trying to collaborate with other businesses and other people to really get a really overall big picture, team and group together. That's the goal, to see how we can reach others, bring joy to others, and grow as a business. So many businesses open and they stay stagnant for years until they go out. Our goal is to continue to grow and continue to change. One of the cool things about the shop is we try to change it up every month. We put new stuff in constantly. We put about 30 to 40 new items out a day. But we're always changing like the decor and everything, just so when you come in it's different and you see something different. I mean, you said it yourself. You're like, when I come in, it's always absolutely packed in here, so I don't get to focus on certain things. And you saw the Patino. Patino's been up for 8 months.
I've been in here 100 times.
And so,
but that speaks volumes. I mean, there's just always something different to look at.
So the goal is to continue to grow. I mean, and not just from a financial aspect. The goal is to continue to grow as individuals, to grow our target market, our audience, and our customers, and just really try to give back to the state and the city. The city of Lexington has been so supportive to us. That's our goal. That's our goal.
And for me, in the experiences that we've had in the last year, like we met and pretty much immediately you were like, dude, like, yeah, let's do something. And I think that if you, Sunday Best just released a song and the like lyrics are walk by faith, not by sight. So when times get tough and you see that the road ahead isn't easy, you're going to stick to those words that you have. And it's like, those are words to live by. Like,
oh yeah.
And whether you're biblical or you're Buddhist, like faith is the most powerful thing that we have, especially when times get tough or when times are good. It's like I can build on this faith even more, or I can fall back on it. And I think that you all build that kind of community and that culture that's here. And so I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you for those kind of words. And you're right. Faith is so many different. People have different ideas of what faith is. You know, you're an inspiration for a lot of people because you have faith in yourself that you can do whatever you want to do. I've seen you working your ass off and pushing yourself to be your best version of you. And so that's kind of the key is you got to have faith in yourself. You got to believe in yourself first and foremost. You know, my mom always told me that you can't make other people happy unless you're happy. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to be said about that. So, you know, I love the boys at Sunday Best. I'm so glad they're back together. Like you?
Yes, I'm so excited. They have a lot of stuff coming up.
Dude, I can't wait. I mean, just when they were on the ground floor at, you know, here in Lexington and stuff like that, my wife and I, we used to go to the Key West Songwriters Festival every year.
Mile Zero?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I'm so envious of that. Key
West
is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah, so we would go and we saw Sunday Best down there.
Okay.
And so we were running around chasing them and hanging out with them, and we had so much fun. I'm glad that Nick and Chris are back together. That's a positive for sure.
I think that, I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. They were the reason why they're like, very many circumstances that happened in my life led me to this moment to have a podcast, but they were the influence that said, hey, you can fall into your craft and be successful.
Yeah. And
when they break up and then they actually like create their own music and get way better and then come back together, and then I'm like, you're even better than you were. Like, usually when a band breaks up, they come back, there's some hostilities, I don't know what happened, blah, blah. Better than ever.
That's cool.
And it's so refreshing to see that these people that make such a big impact, and like I said, they are.
Well, like I said, you're cut from the same cloth. You know, you have a lot in common from that perspective. You're passionate about the same things, and you grow as you get older. You grow, and you're able to say, you know, I fucked up, or I didn't do the right thing, or I didn't make the right decision. And you can say I was in the wrong, and say I'm sorry. It's amazing what can happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, even though the end of this was supposed to be completely promotional to Vintage Therapy, it's turned into a quick session for Sunday Best Love. But dude, I appreciate you so
maybe
much.
One day we'll get him in the shop.
Hey, dude, let's
get him in here to play.
That would be really cool if we did like a video.
A music video. Hey, Chris, Nick, if you're out there listening to this, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Well, I will style you out. We'll do a straight up video. You all can direct it, produce it, whatever you want to do. But let's do it.
Hey, worst case scenario, they have 2 shows coming up at Manchester. You all could curate their outfits for it.
I'd love it. Let's do it. I'm down.
But dude, I appreciate you so much, Aaron.
Yes, cheers. Thank you so much.
This Blanton's was absolutely delicious. This has been quite the experience. I knew we would talk forever and have a great talk. We just literally every time we talk, it's I'm like you said, dude. We could probably literally sit here and talk about Kentucky basketball or Kentucky football or music.
Yeah.
And so I would have to assume there's going to be many episodes of Austin and Aaron Wills
Let's do it. Let's do a part 2. I got to get Scott in here.
Yeah.
Scott is a little under the weather, like I said in the beginning, but we'll get him in here and we'll have a lot of fun. It'll be. I promise you, it won't be as serious. I'm a little bit more serious when Scott's around. We like to joke and have fun.
Man, I love engaging conversations. I think that's the main issue of what we see through the influence of social media. There's a lot of great skills. There's a lot of great things to take from and utility. Prime example: tornado relief.
Yeah.
Literally such a beautiful thing. But we have these little bites and bits, and that's just not what the human experience is and who we are as a person. So that's why I think podcasts are so influential and so important, because we get to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there and you're like, hey, I just got to listen to an hour conversation with Aaron Wills of Vintage Therapy, I like him even more than I already did. Or I love that.
This has been an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, man. But it's just like having, exactly.
That's awesome. It feels like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's like when you're having a long form engaging conversation, and also bourbon's involved, you can break up in a lot and find out a lot, and see behind that, like I said at the beginning, just pulling back that curtain of allowing everyone to see who you are. So I appreciate you so much for coming on. If you're listening to the What the Shuck podcast, or you're watching the What the Shuck podcast, you can find that at What the Shuck 301 on YouTube. You can find it at the What the Shuck podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify Podcasts. And then also you can follow me at What the Shuck 301 on social media. That's not all we're doing, though, at What the Shuck. We also have our whattheshuck.com, which also features some of the Appalachian Pioneer Program stuff, because let's be real, it's a nonprofit. I'm not making any money off that, so it costs a lot to open up a website. I'm running it through there. So what we're doing is we're piggybacking off whattheshuck.com, and Appalachian Pioneer Program is going to just have a featured blog that kind of shows what's going on, whether it's the Walk for Water, or it's flood relief concerts, or tornado relief concerts, whatever we're doing to make sure that we're making a bigger impact in Kentucky through the influence of all the great talents that we have here. So I appreciate you all. I hope you're living the dream. Aaron, thanks so much, man.
Redneck Jimmy Fallon.
Redneck Jimmy Fallon.
What the Shuck?
See you all.